dating. What do you feel about that?
Is it ever casual?
We live in a culture where this yes is to be expected and the no needs to be excused. You're a feminist. Are you a feminist? You're not a feminist. You're not about feminism. Feminism, feminist. So I get this a lot. Because I talk about feminist issues. I talk about women's issues. And so people automatically assume I'm a feminist. And I get it. It seems like if you care about women's issues, you must fit that label. But here's the thing, and maybe many of you, I suspect, just don't fit into the mainstream feminist framework. I care about women's issues, I really do. And women's dignities. I mean, I have a baby girl. I'm disgusted to see online misogyny. The way feminism defines what a woman is or should be, or has ultimately led to the discussion of what is even a woman, that just doesn't match my perspective. So I wanted to make this video to explain why, and I'll be drawing on some really interesting books that I do recommend if you're into that. The End of Woman by Carrie Gress, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution by Louise Perry, and Feminism Against Progress by Mary Harrington. If you've ever felt torn about feminism, like it helped you in some ways, but it also left you confused and unsupported in others, stick with me because I think you're going to relate. Okay, so first, a little bit of where I'm coming from. My perspective is shaped a lot by writers like Louise Perry and Mary Harrington, and I'll get to like what they actually believe in a second. I'm not against women having rights, dignity, or options or safety. I care about those things, okay? I'm disgusted by the misogyny, as I said, but I do question whether the mainstream feminist model actually serves women's interests and real needs, like real needs, not just like the theoretical needs. I'm talking real needs. For me, women's bodies, fertility, and relationships aren't obstacles to be overcome. They're part of who we are, and that matters a lot when it comes to work, relationships, motherhood, and life in general. It's not about rejecting progress. It's about honoring what the reality is. And here's the first thing that I want to say. Caring about women's issues does not mean that you automatically fit into the mainstream feminist framework. Feminism and womanhood are often treated like the same thing, but they're not. You can cheer for women and for them to do well, advocate for them, celebrate their uniqueness, all without agreeing with the framework feminism uses. And the problem is that mainstream feminism often erases our uniqueness and subtly pushes us in a specific direction to prove ourselves. And honestly, that pressure can be really damaging because suddenly your choices, your feelings, your body are measured against that frame of thinking, are measured against men's achievements when we're simply not the same thing. Okay, I got told on TikTok that to be a feminist is to realize that being a stay-at-home mom is harmful to both women and children. I also said that sexual liberation was not good for women, and I got told that that's not feminist. So going back to the roots about feminism, author Carrie Gress points out something that's super interesting. Early feminism wasn't just about equality. Some of the founders were actually anti-maternal or skeptical of traditional femininity. She also talks about the weird magic dark arts that they were doing. You should get into that book. It's very interesting. But anyways, regardless, their goal wasn't simply to gain rights as women. They wanted to be more like men in terms of power, sex, and work. And that shaped how femininity was framed in the 20th century. And honestly, it still influences the conversation today. So here's where it hits close to home. Mainstream feminism's rejection of motherhood, marriage, and family. I did a video about me changing my mind about becoming a mother last week. Check it out. It's a little bit more of a personal story, but I genuinely think the culture influenced my perception of me not wanting to be a mother. But I did become one, thankfully. Now, some examples of what some mainstream, very important, very prominent feminists said. Simone de Beauvoir, for example, and I've said this before, she argued that women should not have the choice to stay at home and bring up their children because too many would make that choice. Betty Friedan criticized domestic life in The Feminine Mystique, suggesting women's fulfillment was elsewhere. Now, I read that book She does have some valid points, but still I felt that she is missing something here. I felt that her specific perception was very personal to her. And then there's Gloria Steinem, who said that with the pill, women could give birth to themselves. Which, yeah, really frames motherhood as something to avoid. And honestly, I get it to an extent. These thinkers were reacting to real problems, okay? But also they framed the movement based out of their own bad relationship with men and family. And I fully agree that actual misogyny still exists. I was just arguing with men on Twitter about how women have rights inherent to them, how women have rights that are natural to them. And his point of view was that women have no rights unless men grant them rights, which was kind of a strange perspective from someone that is supposedly in a conservative space, because Christian ethics actually is the opposite of that view, but I digress. I can touch on a little bit of the branding, the Christianity branding that some right-wing influencers use in another video if you want. But decades later, after those women were very in their peak of their career, those ideas still helped normalize the notion that motherhood and family were somehow a downgrade, were somehow limiting. Just go on social media, okay? Like go on TikTok and search the hashtag childfree. There's a lot of content on that. It's a lot of women showing how they see being a mother, again, as a downgrade in life, as limiting to their own life, as nothing but drudgery, some even mocking our lifestyle. And I talked about this in my video about the child-free world. So now in our language, we see echoes of those beliefs that motherhood is not a woman thing, that motherhood is not necessarily a woman-only thing, or something that women have as unique beings. Terms like birthing parent instead of mother, or chest feeding instead of breastfeeding. These are literally things that only women can do. Things that no men in history will ever be able to do. And that is bring a child into this world, bring a soul into this planet. Okay? This is a unique, intangible experience that a lot of feminists try to downgrade as limiting and negative. And yet, this unique, intangible experience, this unique thing that makes us so different and wonderful, is one of those things that's being erased from being a unique part of the female experience. So another piece of this puzzle, now apparently men can give birth too. And I truly believe the talk around feminism led to that. Now, of course, there are feminists that are standing firmly against that, and I really appreciate that, the TERFs. But that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, a lot of those ideologies that were anti-motherhood led to this in the first place. So let's move on to another piece of the puzzle, which is hookup culture, which Louise Perry, the other author I told you about, talks about a lot. Feminism and the sexual revolution promoted the idea that women could and should have the same sexual freedom as men. On paper, that sounds liberating, right? But in practice, it's been really damaging. Hookup culture encourages casual sex while downplaying emotional and relational consequences.
Casual dating. What do you feel about that?
Is it ever casual? Show me somebody who really, truly is casual about it. I'll wait. Not that they act casual about it, that they feel casual about it.
I think that some women would ask back to you, Penn.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he didn't feel like it was casual.
I'm telling you that he doesn't understand the ways in which it is not casual for him either.
Because he may just actually be like, oh, I don't like you. What about that?
That whole thing, yeah, that's sorry. I am sorry to women. What is that too? Like, he's just not that into you, that whole thing. One of the reasons I didn't like dating was because of what it seemed like young men, boys, men need to sort of, how they need to behave and act, which always felt real corrosive and toxic and coarse and just...
Okay, so how do you feel about casual sex?
Again, show me anyone who's able to have it. I'm not just saying who does it. Plenty of people do it. What about it is casual?
I think it's a great question to pose to the girls listening.
Yeah.
We live in a culture where this yes is to be expected and the no needs to be excused. We live in a culture where women, who are already more agreeable in nature, have to put their foot down when they do not want to be intimate with a man who is expecting a yes, instead of having no as a default respected answer. And a lot of these situations happen when the woman is alone and in a vulnerable position. Many women I know personally, end up feeling lonely, used, or empty, even as society celebrates their freedom, their supposed freedom. And it's not shaming anyone. It's about recognizing that women's emotional and psychological well-being can be harmed by a system that treats intimacy as disposable. There is nothing casual about sex. Nothing casual. I like this analogy Louise Perry brings to the table, which is, if your boss asks you to bring a coffee, you're not going to think much of it. Maybe it's a little bit annoying in the moment. If your boss asks you to go play tennis on the weekend with another associate, it's not going to be that weird unless you find that there's an undertone there. If your boss asks you to have with them, very different story, isn't it? So it's not just a handshake, it's not just a casual thing or fun thing that anyone can do. It is a deeply intimate thing, and we know this deep down. But mainstream feminism has overlooked that reality, or they recognize it in some instances when we talk about sexual harassment, etc. Then simultaneously we talk about sexual freedom and how it's a casual thing, and be empowered by having actual casual sex. No. There's nothing casual about it. So this isn't just a theory. We can see the consequences all around us. Many women feel burnt out, unsupported, and confused. Birth rates are declining. More women are delaying motherhood, often in pursuit of careers or ideals that mainstream feminism says are the path to liberation. High rates of antidepressant use, glorification of hustle culture. These are a result of a society telling women, compete, be like men, succeed, minimize the things that make you uniquely female. And I see it in myself and the women around me. We're told to be independent, which is great. It's great. I think women should have skills. I think women should pursue education. I believe that women should cultivate those skills. I have an MFA, I have a bachelor's degree. That did not prevent me from being married. So don't listen to the men that say don't do any of those things. Because in the real world, the majority of women are meeting their spouses in their college or their law school or their med school, whatever it is. But I think those things is important. Those things are important. So we're told those things. We're told to be independent. We're told to compete. We're told to forget about ourselves in the sense of our unique feminine experience. And that's oftentimes at the expense of connection, rest, fulfillment, and roles that honor our nature. So what do I believe instead? I believe in womanhood, rooted in dignity. I believe in embodiment, in motherhood, in community, in differences from men, not sameness. Thinkers like Carrie Gress, Louise Perry, and Mary Harrington inspire me because they celebrate women's unique strength without framing those differences as a problem or inferior to men. Because genuinely, after pushing my daughter out of my body, I will never be convinced there is a hierarchy between men and women. I'm not gonna have any patience for men who pedestalize themselves above us. Sorry, not sorry, but that experience was so insane to me and my husband that it's just not possible for me to go backwards. I think husbands should be in the delivery room because he still to this day, this is a little caveat, talks about the fact that I pushed her out of my body, that I made her. And to people that say it takes two, yeah, he gave me half of the recipe. I gave the other half of the recipe, and then I made it. I made her fully from my bones, from my body, from what I was eating. All of her bones, connective tissue, her brain came from me creating her. Well, my body creating her, okay? Or you can say God with using my body, okay? There's just not convincing me that the buildings is in any way superior than putting human beings on this planet, okay? And again, I truly am not one of those people that thinks women are better, men are better. We are different. We are separate, okay? We each serve our purposes in this world. So I'm tired of the whole men, women, like, I get it for myself. I know I've like gone a little bit hard on the manosphere here and there. They cannot deserve it. But truly, this is what I believe. To be clear, I do not hate feminists either. Many women came to feminism looking for answers, healing, or empowerment. They had bad experiences. Okay, I understand that. And I'm grateful for some of the gains feminism achieved. But I also think that they forgot about us. They forgot about us mothers. There was actually a different movement of feminism that was parallel to the one that won out, the one that went mainstream, and that one was more focused on our experiences, motherhood, of like having children, all those things. I kind of wish that one had won out, but it seems that one wasn't as profitable. I'm not sure. I need to look into that a little bit more. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting topic. It's also important to acknowledge the costs of mainstream feminism imposed on women's identity, relationships, and well-being. And to anyone that's sitting there thinking, well, you have the right to this platform because of feminism, and first of all, I can't criticize it. Is feminism a cult? And second, as I said, there was a different form of feminism, a different movement that simply got squashed out in favor of this one. If you want to explore these ideas more, I recommend the books The End of Woman, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, and Feminism Against Progress. I will link those below. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt like feminism helped you in some ways, but also left you confused or erased in some others? Would you like to hear more things about this in a future video? I would love to hear your comments, and please, let's have a thoughtful conversation. Cheers.